Okay, folks, what up? I am about to get off into my John Wick 3 Parabellum review. Actually, I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually pulling up to the MJR right now. Go check this movie out. What I'm going to do is run in here, view the film at the cinema, and then give you guys a comprehensive review, if I can, about the J-Dub 3 Parabellum. And if you don't know what Parabellum means, it's Latin for prepare for war. And it also describes the 9mm round for a weapon, which he may use to kill lots of goons in this movie. Don't know. And yes, I did Google Parabellum. I don't know that off the top of my head. Seriously, people? Come on. But I'm going to do some movie magic, and it'll be like I never left. Catch you guys in a few minutes. Okay, guys. I'm back. It's like I never went anywhere. Yeah, so let's just get straight into it. Holy shit. So, I'm gonna just say right now, if you liked any of the other John Wick, 1 or 2, you're gonna freaking love this movie. Like, super over the top, like, action. Like, before you even attempt to go assume what it's gonna be like, I'm telling you right now, my face is steaming up. It is over the freaking top. Like, okay, so starts off, of course, our hero, John Wick, chilling with the doctor. He met back up with the doctor from The Matrix. I forget his name. But of course, as usual, we'll throw a picture up. They're sitting in his medical chair. He's patching him up. It's basically going back and forth. They do this a lot in these movies, as I've illustrated before. Back and forth between a simultaneous event where they're replaying the very end of John Wick 2, where Ian McShane, Winston, lets John Wick go and tells him he gives him an hour. So in this time, John has run off, met the doctor, is getting patched up. At the same time, they're flashing back showing that his time's running out, and this is a bad idea. And there's a countdown. So basically, the doctor is on the clock, trying to fix him up as quickly as possible, and the timer runs out. So now the doctor is in a predicament, but he's everybody's favorite character. He's John Wick. So the doctor's like, look, take this medicine up in the cabinet. It'll make you feel better, give you some energy, basically give you a couple more minutes of whoop ass before you pass out or whatever. So he's like, yeah, sorry about this, John, but they're never gonna believe that I stopped on the hour. So he whips out a gun, and John's like, ah, son of a bitch. So the doctor turns and gives John the gun. I'm like, oh, this is different. He's like, shoot me. They're never going to believe I did this. So he's basically trying to cover his own ass and protect himself against repercussions from the high table. So basically, he's in the middle of telling John where to shoot him because he's a doctor. He's like, shoot me here, make sure you don't bow. And John he shoots him. He doesn't even give a shit what he's saying. And then he's like, okay, cool. The doctor keeps going. He goes, what's up? He's like, one's not good enough. So he rips open his shirt and he's pointing to his shoulder between I believe his shoulder blade and his clavicle or something. He's like, okay, shoot me right here to make sure not to nick my bow. He shot his ass again. Like, he is not one to listen when people are talking. It's awesome. So shoots the doctor. Doctor, of course, says the customary thing that everybody says. He says, John. He says, doctor, wish you good luck. So John takes off running through what I now know as Chinatown, because he runs out and then there's a bunch of restaurants, and then obviously, as I said in my last review, everybody in freaking New York is an assassin, so all these people start looking at him crazy. Hence, Chinese goons start chasing him. So there is a street chase on foot, runs through an alley, runs through some other stuff. So forgive me if I don't have all the details. I only saw it once, and that was like 20 minutes ago. So he's running through all these back alleys, ends up running up some stairs. God, I gotta open my face shield. Running up some stairs, and then breaking into what you find out is either an antiques dealer or a weapons store. Either way, they got a ton of guns and knives. Commit, dude. Come on. Jesus Christ. Alright, this is bad for everybody. Sorry about this, guys, but I'm trying not to die. Alright, I don't trust her at all. Okay, back to the review. So, he runs out. Man, this all screwed me up. I was going good, too. Oh, yeah, so he broke into the antique weapons store. So, basically, he's in there trying to get a gun, which there are plenty of. And, he's locked the door for the goons from the outside so they can't get in. Big steel door. So he's found a bullet that goes with a gun, and he found a gun that he liked, but he didn't match. So what he does is he breaks the guns apart, and he fashions his own weapon from different cylinders, from revolvers, and a barrel from this gun, and a handle from this gun. They happen to all magically fit. Well, it is plausible, but still, it's pretty freaking hilarious watching him do this. It's pretty badass making his own gun. So he gets gun created, a couple minutes. They shoot the lock on the door, make entry into the weapon shop. And he gets off a couple rounds and then eventually loses the gun he just made, which was like almost a waste of the scene. But it flowed really well just because, I don't know, the way they did it was pretty awesome. So they're fighting. All these goons are actually starting to handle him up a little bit because, of course, they're double and triple teaming him. And he's in this tiny little shop where he throws one into the glass, and then all of a sudden they all recognize that they're in a weapon shop. So they just start grabbing knives and swords and start going crazy at each other. So they end up getting in this epic knife throwing fight. So John, you know how you normally grab a goon? Man, old Crown Vic. You normally grab a goon and use him as a bulletproof vest. So John starts using goons as a knife-proof vest. So they're throwing knives at each other. John blocks himself with one goon, and the other goons are throwing knives at him, and they're just shanking the shit out of their boy. It's awesome. So he takes the knives out of the goon and starts throwing them back at the dudes that were throwing them at him. Freaking hilarious. And then they end up, of course, losing to John Wick after all of the scuffle is over, and he does one final goon the decency of chucking a giant axe and hitting him square in the melon. Like, he already shanked this dude up, and then he just bopped him in the head with an axe just for good measure. So he runs off again. Now it is all goon fight. Like, it is maybe 40 minutes of dialogue in this whole movie, and that's pushing it. So he gets out of there, he runs through another part of New York, ends up at a stable. Of course, now he's left Chinatown, he's in another demographic. I assume Russian or maybe Italian goons have popped up by now. Excuse me, I don't know exactly what language they're speaking. So they chase him, he's in the stable. And this is, of course, the scene that you see in the commercial where he's on the horses. But anyway, before you get to that, so he's in the stable. He runs through. Of course, he is hidden. He's popping out, beating dudes up. And all of a sudden, of course, he gets outnumbered again, and now he has to fight with horses. Now, I mean, fighting with horses, not as in synchronized horse. He's using a horse to fight. So he runs up on the horse, dude's chasing him. John slaps the horse on the ass, make the horse buck, kick this dude square in the face, knocks him out. Another guy runs up, John throws him against the horse, beats him up a little bit, rips around the other side of the horse. Horse is getting freaked out, bucks again, kicks another dude in the face. What's up, car that's got a limited run? Jesus Christ. So anyway, he's running. He's fighting with the horse. He ends up getting on the horse, and then I am not racing this shitty GTO. Running my review, Nicole. So he ends up on the horse, getting chased down the street by what I only assume to be some 250s, maybe some 400s. The tires are super tiny and they look like WR 250Rs, maybe some dirt bikes. Couldn't really tell. So he's getting chased by those bikes. Ends up grabbing the gun off the dude on the horse. Like, the physics in this movie are crazy. Like, if you're on a horse versus a motorcycle, the horse is gonna win. He's bigger than you, he's taller than you, and you're on a bike. There is no way you're gonna freaking beat this animal. I'm glad this dude is having fun racing himself. Like, I'm not even participating. So, plus I would destroy that car. God damn it, these people are screwing me up. So, he gets on the horse, beats the dudes up, takes the guns, shoots the guy in the face, ends up escaping, and then the next thing you see him on foot. He ditched the horse. Don't know if it's got a GPS or a VIN number. I don't know how horses work, but he ditched the horse, ends up in what you assume is a theater, and he runs in with now I think it's a rosary, and it has a cross, and he runs up to the box office, slaps it up against the window, and the lady's like, oh, lets him in. I'm like, okay, what's up with this? Well, apparently there's another version of a marker or a pass. It's called a ticket, and he runs into this theater. Turns out it's the ballet, and we all know how Russians are very sensitive and very, I don't know how you say it, passionate about ballet. They're freaking awesome. So you see these dudes, rough and tumble dudes, sitting at the desk. Everybody, of course, knows who John Wick is. John Wick runs in, gives him the marker, or his ticket, I'm sorry, gives him a couple of those Underworld gold coins, and they give him passage. And he's like, okay, grabs all his stuff. And the guy was like, give me the belt too. They took John Wick's belt. They basically took anything that he could cause damage with. That's what I found out later. I thought he was just turning in his crap. They were fleecing him for money. They weren't. They were just taking everything on him. So he has his marker or ticket, gives it to the dudes. They give it back. He walks into the building. Then you eventually find out, boom, enter Anjelica Huston. Anjelica Huston, epic, legendary actress. Most people know her for her work as Morticia in the Addams Family, but she's been around a long time. So she's there, and she is Russian, I believe. She's from Belarus, and you find this out because John Wick says, I am Jordani Jovanovic. I'm like, what? What is happening right now? So John Wick is apparently Russian. He was an orphan, and I think she helped raise him and helped him become like an assassin or whatever. So she's like, dude, you've been causing trouble for the last couple weeks. I can't be seen with you. I'm gonna get dead too. So what happens is, of course, he shows her his marker or ticket, and she's like, okay, if you want to do this, we'll do it, but we'll see. If they don't come after me, it's gonna be a problem. So she takes him to the back office. While she's going to the back office, she's going through all these different locations. First, they go past the ballerina troupe. I think they're called a troupe. And they flash some of these women, and they got the exact same tattoo that John Wick has on his back. And I'm like, holy shit, that's where that tattoo came from. Starting to make sense. I never mentioned it in any of the other reviews, but have fun, dude. He's got a huge tattoo on his back. And now, you know, this link to this place, or it shows that they're all related or they're in a type of group or something. And then you go through another scene where there's all these grapplers on the floor. So now you know where he learned all his grappling and floor takedown moves. She's like, familiar? Bring back memories? He's like, yeah. He says that a lot this movie. So go to the next scene. She's in the room. She's like, what do you want? I can't really do anything because I'm going to get dead. He says, I don't want you to do anything. I just need safe passage to freaking Casablanca. I'm like, all right, let's go to Casablanca. So one of the Russian goons, dude with a painted face, takes the marker, or a ticket, damn it, I keep saying marker, takes the ticket, she ripped the cross part off of it. He takes it, sticks it on a fireplace poker, heats it up, brands John square in the back of his tattoo right in the middle. So I guess therefore canceling his old debt from them to him, and therefore giving him safe passage to Casablanca. So he's on his way to Casablanca. Meanwhile, all these people are still getting the contracts, all their phones are texting, and all this other stuff's happening. Cabbie pulls up to the Hotel Continental. Cab door opens. It's the pit bull. He sent the pit bull back to the Continental again to chill with the concierge. Concierge comes out, opens the door, dogs runs up. It's a cute scene. It's over. Okay, now John Wick is in Morocco. He is, I'm sorry, while this is happening, another person is coming into the fray. We'll talk about her in just a second. So there is no real main antagonist in this movie, but if there would be one, it'd be her. Ugh, what a bitch in this movie. I don't know her in real life. So she pops up while John Wick is in Morocco. But so okay, let's go back to Morocco. Morocco, he lands in Morocco, however he got there, boat or plane. They don't really say. He shows up. He's walking through back alleys, of course, it becomes seedy, and then everybody in the city's looking at him. People start texting, and you can just tell it's about to be another goon fight. So he goes through some wet alley. 3 goons pop out. He takes out one of them. The other 2 are in the mid-knife fight, and goon 4 pops out and says, hey, he's got safe passage. One of the goons says, no, he doesn't. He's excommunicado, and I'm about to get this contract money. And then the dude says, no, our purveyor or whatever, the manager says, he's got safe passage. They put their knives down. John Wick goes to walk off. Goon was like, fuck this, I'm still about to shake him. He goes to throw the knife at John, and the guy that came out and stopped the fight straight shoots his own goon. And he goes, welcome to Morocco. Okay, cool. Next scene, John Wick's dropped off into a hotel room. It's the Moroccan Continental, of course, because they got a Continental everywhere. And boom, he's chilling there. 2 badass dogs show up, and they made no noise. You don't even know they're there. He's looking at the pictures that are around the room. Halle Berry enters the room, fine and crazy. So, of course, she pulls a gun on John, as everyone does. She says hi by shooting him, of course, and then she lets out some of her frustrations, and then they get to talking. And she's like, I should just put a bullet in your head right now for some other reason because of this and that and the other. which she couldn't have done anyway because her gun was out of bullets, the slide was all fully retracted, and the freaking chamber was all the way out. There was no round chamber. So, I mean, you only knew that if you know weapons and you're paying attention. So, she's out of bullets anyway, and then he's like, boom, I got a marker. So apparently John Wick has a marker for her as well. She owes him a debt, the same type of marker that Santino D'Antonio used on John in part 2. So not the same one, but the same type. So he whips out the marker, she gets all misty-eyed, and then you come to find out during the next scene that John Wick did her a favor. She used to be a field agent. She agreed to become the manager of the Continental through some deal that she made with the High Table, whoever they are. And she pretty much gave up being a field agent, and she agreed to follow their rules, and they wouldn't look for her child. Because apparently John Wick rescued her child from the life or did something in which she owed him a debt. And she didn't even know where her own daughter was. So he's like, you want to know? She goes, nope. Because if I know, I'm going to go find her, and I don't want that happening to her. And he's like, I got your marker, so I need your help. So she slides him back the marker and says, you know, some stuff. And she's like, all right, we leave in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the dogs are still sitting there just watching John Wick, just chilling and not moving at all. So she gets dressed, loads up one of the dogs with a gun. She removes all of her personal weapons because she knows they're going to be searched at their next location, wherever that is. So apparently she goes to take John to meet her former boss, who is, unbeknownst to everyone, including myself, a new character he's introduced in this movie. There is a smelting operation going on at this guy's lair. So they get there. Of course, they're searched. Nobody checks the dogs. The dude admires the dogs. He's like, can I pet one? She says some command in some language. And the dog walks up and he pets the dog. And they get to talking. The guy says, John, you here to kill me? He goes, no, I just want to talk. Okay, cool. Let's walk away. So they go to walk away. Some dude's melting down something in bare feet. I'm like, that's risky. So he's doing this, and then you come to find out they get to the top of this dude's lair. He points and says, hey, this is the first gold coin, and this is the first marker made at this location. So he is the guy who supplies the gold coins that they've been using for underworld currency in all of the movies. So you just find out what his character is and what he does. Cool. And apparently Halle Berry used to work for him for whatever reason. And so they get to talking back and forth. John's like, I'm not here to kill you. I just want to talk to God, I can't remember his name. The main guy, the ghost or whatever he is. And he's like, nah, you don't find him. He finds you. And how you gonna talk to him when there's a contract on your head? Basically, John says, I want to make amends. I'll do whatever I need. Okay, cool. So now this underworld exchange has happened, but nobody knows what the terms of the agreement are. So he's like, okay, cool. I'll let you go. You go talk to the man. If you die, you die. If you don't, good on you. So, being as that Halle Berry brought John Wick to her old boss, he asked her during the conversation sometime, hey, does this dog shed a lot? She's like, the fuck? No, not really. Not knowing what this conversation was alluding to. So after their meeting, they were getting ready to leave, and he goes, oh, okay, so I guess you wasn't paying attention. You owe me now. I'm gonna get that dog. And she's like, no. You can't have my dog. Now, she's got 2 dogs. Only one was present at the meeting for whatever reason. Don't know why. Dramatic effect. So she's like, nah, you can't have my dog, son. He goes, oh, so this is our agreement. You have to give me something, and I choose this dog. Or our agreement is null and void. She goes, you can't have my dog. So the dude whips out a gun and shoots the dog. Halle Berry looks down at the dog, looks up at John, reaches back down towards the back of the dog, and then John's like, don't do it. Don't do it. And then she snaps. She goes off shooting all the goons. She does not kill her former boss because John is able to fend her off. Basically, we don't want to kill another high-ranking person. We just want to injure him a little bit. So she pops him in the kneecap. Turns out the dog got shot in the bulletproof vest that he was wearing. The dog was completely fine. She looks at John all upset and angry, and then she goes, he shot my dog. And the whole theater was quiet. John looks at her and goes, I understand. Super fan service going back to all the movies because they're always talking about John and his dog, but it wasn't just the dog. So they run off, go to the next mission, which was the guy told him how to reach the ghost. He said basically you got to go to the desert, stare at the sky, and walk until you die or some crap, till you're almost dead, and then he'll find you. which was super cryptic, but it actually worked because that's what he did. Meanwhile, boom, back to New York. So adjudicator lady shows up at the Hotel Continental. She presents the concierge with a black gold coin, and he's like, oh shit. Calls Winston up, says there's an adjudicator here to see you, and he says, as he always does, the manager will see you now. He's at the bar. So she goes to meet Winston. Oh, I'm sorry. Adjudicator is a person who basically finalizes any type of agreement or contract. We use adjudication a lot in the military for security clearances. That's the only reason I know that word. And plus, my stepdad made me read the dictionary. So she's an adjudicator. She's there to tighten things up and figure out why certain things happen and just close this loop off because High Table's upset. So she's talking to Winston, basically saying, hey, John Wick did action on your watch, son. What's up with that? He's like, I can't control what John Wick does. She goes, yeah, that's true. It was on Continental grounds, but what you can do is let me know why you gave him an hour to get away. It was within your power to take him out when you had the chance. Basically, you aided and abetted him against the High Table for an infraction in which they believe they've been wronged because he just killed the newest member of the High Table based off the last movie because Giovanna D'Antonio was at the table. The contract was for John to kill her so the brother could assume power. Boom, boom, boom. So she's there to close up the loose ends. Body's still there. Like this movie picked up right where the other one left off. I mean, exactly where it left off. So the body's still at the Continental. She goes to see the body, confirms that it's him, tells Winston what's up. She's like, you got 7 days. Get your affairs in order and you out. Winston's like, who are you talking to? This is my hotel. She goes, nope. High Table's taking it over and you gotta go. So Winston's pretty upset. And she's like, if you have any further questions, I'll be in room 217. So not only did she's kicking this dude out of his own hotel. He said, I've been in service to the High Table for 40 years. So she's kicking him out of his own hotel and she just assigned herself a room. Like, yep, I'm gonna stay upstairs. So next scene, she ends up walking through some alley, enter Mark Dacascos. He is a pretty good actor. I like some of his movies. I really like Only the Strong. I grew up watching that movie. It's a movie about capoeira, Brazilian martial arts. He did pretty good in there. So he plays a Japanese guy. And she goes to sit at his restaurant. He just makes her a plate of normal food, or he's attempting to, and then she slides the corn across the table. He's like, oh, I wasn't expecting the High Table so soon. So she now is the person he recognizes as an adjudicator. So he begins to listen to her spiel about John Wick. He's like, yeah, I know everything. I know what's going on, the dog in the car and all this other stuff. He's just like, I just haven't been participating in the contracts and all that stuff. He's just chilling out. So she enlists him as a hand of doling out some punishment to John Wick directly from the High Table. Like, no other person is involved. She's like, you work for the High Table, I need you to go handle John Wick. So his goons, Japanese goons now, show up behind him. They're all like ninjas. They're pretty badass. And in the meanwhile, they're having this conversation. He's cutting up blowfish, extremely poisonous delicacy in Japan. So they're chit-chatting it up. He's chopping up the fish, gives her a slice, and he's like, yeah, it's poisonous. So she just eats it. Like, yep, you ain't gonna risk killing me. So it's basically their kind of handshake of, yeah, I trust you with my life. Do this for the High Table, and you're good to go. So next scene, she's basically going around to everybody who's helped John Wick and doling out threats. So she's already hit Winston. She's went to Mark Dacascos to enlist his help. He didn't help John Wick. She needs him as muscle. So now she proceeds to go to Angelica Houston, which sucks because she now has Mark Dacascos dudes just killing everybody. Like he sends his guys out and they just show up in the shadows and have killed pretty much 90% of Angelica Houston's goons. Got the ballerina lady, and she's just sitting watching a ballet at her home, or not her home. She's at the theater, and they just walk on stage. And she was like, hold on, what's going on with this? They stop. The adjudicator walks up. It's like, hey, same spiel. You helped John Wick, blah, blah, blah. She's like, he had a ticket. She's like, the ticket don't do shit. High Table says that ain't nothing. you need to pay us in blood. So they stab her in the hands after they've killed all her goons. She gets off pretty easy. They show up at Lawrence Fishburne. Now, Lawrence Fishburne gave John Wick the gun. I think I called it a Colt in 1911. It was a Kimber 1911. I mistakenly labeled that weapon wrong the last movie. He gave John Wick the gun that helped kill Santino. And 7 bullets. So they show up at Lawrence Fishburne's place. She walks up, same spiel. You help John Wick. You got 7 days. Get your shit and get out. He's like, I run the Bowery. I run this part of New York. I'm the king. I ain't doing nothing. She was like, all right. You got 7 days. Get your shit and get out. Like, she is unflappable. Like, she's like, I don't care what you say. You gotta go. So keep going, keep going, keep going. Back to John Wick in the desert. So he has now walked. Oh, sorry. This is a great scene. So Halle Berry and John, as they're leaving the fight with the dude that was her former boss, she shot him in the knee. Well, they got to get through all of his goons now. So she's goon fighting, he's goon fighting, and the dogs are goon fighting. These dogs are awesome. This scene is, I don't know, 6 minutes long. Straight up dog fights, beating the crap out of each other. Dogs run up a wall at one point, like they rush people on command. She runs out of bullets. She has to fight somebody, and she's getting handled up, and she calls the dogs, and then they run over, grab the guy, and then she recovers, and it's just well put together, pretty fast paced. Some of it's, I mean, it's over the top, like I said at the beginning of the movie, but it's still fun to watch. So she has now dropped him off at the desert. She gets out, pours her dogs a bowl of water, and then she helps to hand John the bottle of water, and then she takes it back, drinks the last quarter of it, or you thought she drank it. She swings it around her mouth, spits it back in the bottle, and gives it to John. Now, I don't know what to think about that scene, because it is Halle Berry, but that's still gross. But it's Halle Berry. I'm conflicted. So he gets the water, walks off into the desert, passes out. Some amount of time goes by. He gets rescued by Camel Dude, and the Camel Dude throws him on the back of the camel, takes him, of course, to the guy he was looking for, the ghost. Apparently, I believe this guy is the head of the High Table. God, I can't remember his name in the movie, but he is played by a really good actor. The same actor he normally plays like God, I don't want to say a terrorist, but he plays an Arab person in a lot of movies. He's a really, really good actor. You're gonna recognize his face when I post it up in the video, but this dude's awesome. He had a really good role with who did he have a role with? War Machine. Don Cheadle in God, I can't remember the name of the movie. I'll post that too. But dude's a good actor. He makes John Wick an offer. He says, okay, you want to make amends? What you need to do is you got to pledge your allegiance to the High Table once again, because he did it before, and then you have to go kill Winston. So I was like, what? Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go kill your boy. He's like, oh shit. Okay, so John cuts off his own finger. He cuts off the finger with his wedding ring. The reason he did this is because he said he wanted to live so he can remember his wife. And I guess you can't have memories when you're dead. So he's like, all right, I need you to pledge your allegiance. So he chops off his wedding finger, pulls the band off, gives it to the guy. I'm like, that's one of the main things you would need to remember your wife by. That scene was confusing to me. I guess, but he needed it to show his level of allegiance. So the guy said, okay, I'll take this. Be on your way. So they take John to a back room, re-outfit him with an all-new black suit. Baller. Looks real nice. I wish I had one. Black tie, black shirt. Pretty sweet. So he gets safe passage back to New York, and in agreement with his contract, if he does this, he is reinstated. The contract is pulled, which is now up to $15 million, and he has to live life under the table again, which basically he's their guy. You gotta do whatever they say once again, but he got out once already. So he's back in New York, and a lot of these other people don't know the contract is in this state of limbo. It has not yet been pulled, so he can get killed at any time. So of course he's back in New York. Everybody in New York's an assassin, and he gets off the train, walking through the train station. A bunch of people see him. Of course they go to approach him, and then all of a sudden they die, just boom, right on the spot. Mark Dacascos' dudes killed all the other assassins that were trying to kill John Wick at the station at that time. What? Don't know why. I mean, they did that for free. There wasn't even no contracts on those dudes. So John ends up in the middle of the train station. Mark Dukakis is up on the balcony somewhere looking down, and then his goons disappear. They basically escort John out so he could be seen by Mark Dukakis. They see each other. Each one of them pulls a switchblade individually, and they start walking towards each other, but they get interrupted by a group of children holding hands, walking straight through the middle of them. So they do some fancy camera work showing that Mark Dukakis' goons are ninjas and they can get behind you at any time. So they were walking through this crowd, and all of a sudden there was nobody there, and then there was a guy there next to Mark Dukakis, and he's staring at John Wick. He said, "Hey, you're a good guy. I wouldn't have stopped. I just walked straight through these kids." We're having this chit chat. Now all of a sudden the guy disappears from on the side where Mark Dukakis is, and he is now on the side where John Wick is, while this crowd of people is still between them. So basically showing, hey, I can get to you, blah, blah, blah. And John goes, "This guy with you?" Shakes him up, throws him on the ground, and then Mark Dukakis, who provides the majority of the comedy relief for this movie, basically say, yeah, he was, because he's now dead. And John's like, oh, yeah, that's what you get. And then the crowd's still going by, and then John disappears. Like, I can pull this move too, bitch. It was pretty sweet. So Mark Dukakis is looking around like, huh, neat move. Okay, next scene. Now John has returned to New York. They are now in this battle where they're fighting each other, or trying to fight each other. So Mark Dukakis is now chasing him. In the meantime, they did a flashback. I might have lost it right here. Nope, I still got it. So Adjudicator Lady is now at Lawrence Fishburne's place, and she goes up to him and says the same spiel. You got 7 days, and I need you to repledge your... What is going on here? Please don't jump in my lane. I need you to repledge your loyalty to the High Table, and I'm going... If you don't, you're going to get it. So after he had already threatened her before, she shows up, and with her dudes, it's like, okay, your punishment, since you gave John Wick 7 bullets, is you getting 7 cuts. So the ninja goons basically slice him up right then and there after she's killed all of his people. Most of them, not all of them. Most of those underground, I don't want to call them spies, but most of those. This person is not. It's interrupting my train of thought. So she kills the spies, most of them, and then slices up freaking Lawrence Fishburne. That sucks because she took him out. I'm like, damn, because he was like, nah, I'm not bowing. I'm good. So that happened. Back to John Wick. Now him and Mark Dukakis have fought. They're fighting. They're beating the crap out of each other, and then he's actually getting a nice amount of whoop ass going on John after he's already chased him. So John had to take out like 3 more dudes, jump on a motorcycle. They had an epic ninja motorcycle katana fight across the bridge. And like the physics of the motorcycles on this, they did a pretty good job, but a lot of this is super implausible. But he does a good job. Like when he takes his hand off the throttle, like he'll switch to the other hand and still work the throttle. And I'm pretty sure this time he was getting chased by a bunch of Yamahas. Super hard to tell what those bikes are in the dark, and they don't hardly show any branding, but I thought I saw that custom Yamaha circle on one of the bike's tanks. So anywho, so he's already done the epic ninja knife fight, sword fight across the bridge. Like 5 to 8 dudes he just shanked up, and they had a good old time on their bridge. So he's tired and worn out. So he's getting the crap beat out of him by Mark Dukakis, who was also on a bike. He grabbed one off of one of the down goons and chased John Wick. So they're fighting. Lo and behold, they did the same thing that happened in part 2, where Common and John Wick fought onto Continental grounds. So they're fighting. Nobody's paying attention except for John, of course. John reaches over, and all of a sudden you see a step. You're like, what the hell is this step? You look up, and you see a frame of the Continental Hotel, and John just goes, boop, right on the step. He's on Continental ground. They can't fight anymore. And then the concierge pops out immediately and says, gentlemen, should I remind you what happens on Continental grounds? Blah, 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 says the whole spiel. And then Mark Dukakis is like, but he's excommunicado. Like, what are you talking about? And he said, unless you want to be the same, I suggest you stop now. So, of course, he stops. They go in, which everybody's allowed in the Continental. So you go in, and they have a seat because, of course, Winston will see them. And John Wick sits on this big, huge couch. Like 5 people can sit on this couch, maybe 4. And then Mark Dukakis sits right next to him, like gave him no space. So John gets up and moves to another seat, And then Mark Dacascos just looks at him and goes, dude, I'm such a huge fan of yours. Like, they have this whole, like, 30-second dialogue, which is pretty funny. And then the pit bull shows up, runs across the lobby, jumps into John Wick's lap, and the guy's like, I see you're a dog person. I'm more of a cat person myself. Like, Mark Dacascos is the comedy relief pretty much the whole time he has been on screen. So, they have their talk. He goes upstairs to meet Winston. John does. Mark Dacascos stays downstairs. John goes to meet Winston in his all-new room that you've never seen in the Continental. All glass, all lit up. It's pretty sweet looking. And then they have a talk. So, he basically says, you here to kill me? John goes, yeah, I am, pretty much. And Winston's like, all right, I know what you got to do, but I'm fighting back. He's like, I'm not stepping down. I'm here for 40 years. This ain't happening. So John's like, shit, you gonna fight? So now John's he's thinking again. He didn't really want to take the contract because Winston's boy, they actually are friends. So Winston hands him the gun. Is like, you gonna do it? I'd rather be done by a friend. And then adjudicator lady shows up. She's like, okay, we got to make a decision. Are you stepping down? Winston goes, nope. John Wick goes, looks at Winston. She goes, John Wick, are you gonna shoot him? He goes, I don't think so. She goes, okay. Turns around, makes a phone call. I don't know why they haven't just killed this lady. Dramatic effect again, I'm sure. So she turns around, makes a phone call. She deconsecrates the Continental. Consecrated ground means they could not have done their actions on there. She deconsecrates it, makes it no longer a sovereign ground for assassins. Basically, she's like, y'all excommunicado John, I excommunicado the building. So the whole Continental's off limits now. So people are like, holy shit. She called it in, of course, to the operators, just like they did in the other movies. And the building is now, free reign. What is, man? People, I gotta get home because people on the street today, kind of crazy. Anyway, so the building's deconsecrated. People just are grabbing their shit and leaving. They're like, I'm out. Continental basically becomes a freaking vacant lot. There's nobody there. The lights are on, and she's like, okay, now the high table is sending their goons. So they get all these goons, and then Winston, John Wick, the dog, and the concierge all retreat to Winston's safe room, which is inside a giant safe. Haha. So he's like, I need guns, and he's like, boom, here you go. So the concierge, whose name is Sharon now, I never knew that, was like, we got some upgrades. It's been a while since you've been in the field. We need better weapons. So he goes through the whole deal with John Wick and says, hey, you need this gun, you need this gun, you need this gun, you need this rounds. Boom, boom, boom. They go out and they go to take out these dudes. And then John Wick goes one way, Sharon goes another way, and then he's followed by more Continental goons who are still loyal to Winston, which is kind of cool. So they go out into the lobby, then they start their fray with the new set of high table goons, and they shoot all these dudes, and they're bulletproof. They all got the same crap that John Wick wears, plus a helmet. It's pretty much effectively bulletproof, period. So they're shooting all these dudes, wasting all these rounds. John Wick goes through, 2-3 magazines before he figures it out. Pulls up one dude's helmet, shoots him in the back of the neck, leans one dude forward, shoots him in the front of the face, that kind of stuff. But the other dudes, the Continental goons, are getting taken out because they aren't John Wick, of course. And then Sharon gets away. John Wick uses up all his ammo. He takes out one or two of them. And then there's like a serious break in the action. All the time, Winston is playing classical music over the loudspeaker. They go back to Winston. He's just sitting there drinking wine with the dog, just chilling. And they open the door. Man, all this face yapping is steaming up my glasses. They open the door. The safe vault door opens and the wheel spins and all this other crap. And he's like, armor upgrades. And then Sharon's like, upgrades. Yes. So they both go back, get 12 gauge solid armor-piercing rounds for shotguns, and then they restock their ammo, and they go back out and just start whomping ass. They beat the shit out of these dudes. And then, of course, Sharon ends up going back to Winston after this has all happened, and John Wick moves on upstairs because it's a boss fight. You gotta go upstairs to fight the Japanese ninja goons. So there's two ninja goons. One of them is, I don't know his name, but he was in Raid Redemption. He's a really good fighter, and I don't think he is Japanese. I think he is Indian, but he just plays a Japanese person because he was using a pandai. It's a very small and sharp weapon used for close quarter fights, but in the Raid Redemption, I believe, was an Indian movie. So anyway, I could be wrong. He could be Thai. I'm not sure, but I'll post a picture of him too. So he's a great fighter. Him and his buddy start fighting John Wick. They start whooping his ass because, of course, he's tired, exhausted. He's getting double teamed. He's already beat like 50 dudes. And then they stop, put down their katanas, and then they whip out their pandans, and then they help John Wick up, and they talk to him and say, hey, it's an honor to meet you, Mr. Wick. Basically, they're gushing fans who are trying to kill him. This movie is great. So they fight some more. They whoop him down again. They offer him a hand to help. He's like, no, I got it. He stands up. He takes off his belt. So he starts to beat their ass with his leather belt. He ends up getting the upper hand. He drops one dude on the ground. Now, this room, like I said, he's upstairs now in Winston's room that was all glass. So this room has glass floor. So he drops one dude on the ground. Floor starts to crack. Drops the other dude on the ground. Floor starts to crack. So he picks up one dude and then pile drives him into the other dude. All three of them fall through the floor. John Wick gets up as the victor, and he's looking down at them like, okay, who else got something to say? They look up as they're about to fight, and he says, I'll be seeing you. And then they just lay back down. Like, he let them live, which was pretty cool. So, final boss fight. He goes upstairs to fight Mark Dacascos. The whole time he was taunting him through the glass floor anyway. So he goes upstairs to fight him. They go back and forth. A lot of kick-ass moves. He does some of the capoeira stuff, which I thought was a real good ode to his other movie. And then, of course, he gets whooped by John Wick. And then after all of that, he goes, hey, John, that was a pretty good fight, huh? And then John goes, yeah. Like, he says yeah so many times in this movie. It's freaking awesome. Classic Keanu Reeves. So, after all of this, in between this, the adjudicator was in her room chilling. She called Winston, basically saying, how long do you think this can go on? There is no way you can click. He hung up the phone on her. Awesome. So after the fight, she calls Winston again, and she goes parlay. Parlay is a temporary stay of aggressions. So what they do is they go upstairs on the roof and they have a talk, and basically she's like, oh, you was just doing this as a show of force. She's like, okay, well, you can be reinstated, and what are we gonna do with John Wick? So basically Winston said, I'm not gonna fight y'all no more if you let me keep my powers. I was like, what the hell's about to happen? So he turns and shoots John Wick. John's like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on, Winston? So he keeps shooting him, and he falls off the roof. Of course, he didn't fall. He fell, slid off an angled part of the building, bounced to a fire escape on another side of the building, flipped down, hit the ground, landed on his face, of course, but he's pretty much done for. She's like, huh, I'm happy with that. So Winston has effectively attempted to kill John Wick in the eyes of the adjudicator, therefore re-cementing his position back with the high table and giving him powers back over to Continental. Continental was immediately reconsecrated, which means it's back to being sovereign ground. He can run the hotel. So she goes to leave, and then she's one of the first smart villains. She goes, hold on, let me go around the side of this building. She goes to go see John Wick's body. It's gone. Holy shit. She goes back in and is like, yo, John Wick's gone. Winston's like, yeah, it's a tragedy. She goes, no, I mean, he's gone, like physically. He goes, oh, well, that sucks. Basically, he knew John was going to escape, and then he just says, oh, Baba Yaga, boogeyman. He's gone. So he plays it off as, how far can he go? She goes, you better be right for both our sakes. Turns out, John Wick didn't escape. He was actually rescued by a dude with a shopping cart. And you see John in his shopping cart underground. And you're like, oh, okay, what is this? You see his dog right next to him, because the dog runs off during the scene where she's saying John Wick's missing. The dog heard that, and he's like, oh shit, daddy gone, I'm gonna go find him. So the dog's next to the shopping cart. Shopping cart dumps John Wick at the floor of somebody's feet. All of a sudden, you see Lawrence Fishburne all cut up. Holy shit, he survived. And they're like, okay, I'm pretty pissed off. John, I know you pissed off. I'm sick of this high table bullshit. John's like, sitting there. He's like, John, if you hear me, I need you to lift your hand. So he lifts the hand up that doesn't have a wedding ring finger on it anymore. And Lawrence Fishburne is still talking shit, and John flips him off with that same hand, and he starts dying laughing. He's like, all right, man, I'm pissed off. I'm sick of this shit. Are you pissed off? And then John Wick goes, yeah. And then they cut the credits. There's going to be a John Wick 4, and it's probably going to be ridiculous. That's it, guys. That's my full review. I did enjoy that movie. This is probably 45 minutes almost, the longest review I've done so far. But I do appreciate you watching. I'm not going to mention it much, but I do have a Patreon. I would like you to hit the thumbs up. I don't need subscribers. I don't live off of YouTube. if you at least watch the video, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs down if you don't like it. Do something. It helps my Google Analytics go. Google Analytics. And it basically, I would just appreciate it. You know, I'm not one of these kids that needs to live off people who like me. It's just something I appreciate. If you don't, you don't. But I do it all the time. I'll watch a video, I'll like the video, but I never actually hit the thumbs up. So if you like it, click that thumb, check out the Patreon. If not, just the view, you don't have to purchase. And look for more to come. These movie reviews are actually fun, and I'm actually crazy being able to remember all this stuff from seeing this movie. I was going to see how long I can keep doing this. Thanks for watching. I will catch you guys later.